Greetings and salutations out there in the wonderful world of the internet. It's I, your humble traveler, fellow traveler, El Jefe, Dave Duford here at the Ford Insurance Group. Thank you so much for joining me on today's live stream broadcast, where I'm going to tell you what is going to save you thousands of dollars on your insurance leads. The purpose of this video today, you see, is kind of more like a fireside chat, if you will, like father-son talk, where we sit down and give you some advice, some wisdom on some things that you as a new agent or struggling agent need to be thinking and considering in the process when it comes to insurance leads. As the Darrington Agency so eloquently stated in the live stream, bad leads arg. That is the topic of today's presentation, and kind of what steps to, from a 30,000 foot overview, what to take to avoid kind of the perils that stand in your way when it comes to this business, and how to give yourself the best chances of success when it comes to working various types of insurance leads. So if you are new here, welcome. If you'd like to ask questions as it relates to insurance leads, maybe you have questions about particular lead vendors, types of leads, etc. This is a kind of combination lecture, if you will, from yours truly, as well as an opportunity for you to ask questions. So throw your questions in the chat about leads, any commentary as we go along, and you're welcome to do so, and I'll be happy to address your questions as we go. Of course, you are on my channel, so I am one who likes to do shameless plugs. I want to make sure that we promote the upcoming Elite Agent Summit. It's going to be in Houston, Texas, and our next one is going to be in Las Vegas. This is a new boot camp that we're doing where essentially, where's my mouse? Where'd it go? Okay, there it is. Essentially what we're doing is taking top producers and having them come in and talk about their successes in the business and basically how they are successful selling insurance, various types like ACA, under 65 health insurance, certainly final expense, telesales, face-to-face, also Medicare, annuity sales, etc. This is not your typical Kool-Aid drinking rah-rah fest. The idea behind this is to train or to provide training and perspective from those who are successful and doing something right now, and we're doing what's working right now, and kind of parlaying and teaching that kind of in a smaller group environment. We had approximately 60 people show up to our event on Monday. It went very well, not Monday, but on Friday. And lots of great content was there. And this is just kind of a little example of what's coming up in Houston. You're welcome to register. It's a very affordably priced ticket. Whether you're a new agent, contracted with us or not, you're welcome to check it out. But go to eliteagentsummit.com to learn more. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with the content, of course. Some steps, some advice, some direction on how to avoid losing money when it comes to leads, how to save on leads. So here's the thing. I want to start today's conversation with a little hypothetical story. And then I would say this is relevant to the vast majority of you out there in the insurance world. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You come into this business. You've been persuaded by some MLM, most likely, who has the best leads and the best training and best everything, right? You come into this business. You do what they tell you. Usually they tell you to work some beat up internet lead or some aged lead to get started. You don't really get great training. You just kind of tell them to go out. They just tell you to go out there and go after it and make it happen, that kind of stuff. You go out there and you start working the leads, and everything that you've been told up to this point about how great these leads don't actually pan out. You find that you're getting no-show. People aren't picking up the phone. They're not converting like everybody says in the organization as far as conversion goes. And what you've realized is that what was been presented to you isn't actually being communicated to you and as not actually panning out for the way that you expected it to be. And now you've kind of planted these seeds of doubt. You're kind of scared about leads. You don't want to necessarily waste more money. Maybe that's your perspective. But perhaps you're scared about spending money to buy the better leads. You've watched some of my content, but you're worried. And now you're in this quandary. how do you proceed in this business and invest in the right kind of leads? But are you sure that this is something you should be doing? Are all leads like this? And this thus starts circling the bowl, if you will, as far as an analogy goes. And now you're in this position to where you're just not sure of what you're going to do. And in this case, many of you will fail out or face the real risk of losing in this business. This is a very typical kind of mentality that goes throughout this business, where agents kind of second guess themselves on investing in leads, because really the premise from the beginning was a faulty one. It was a bad one. And what my goal here today is to kind of work you out of this perspective, this typical life cycle of a new agent, and kind of get you guidance on how to approach leads with the right mindset, how to start the process if you are just starting off, or how to get into it if you kind of define yourself in this particular position, and then give you the right guidance and perspective on getting going. All right, so again, this is kind of just general advice here, but with this kind of 30,000-foot overview in mind. So first of all, the fundamentals of lead generation. I want to talk about some realities of leads and kind of what you can expect. First of all, the biggest thing that you got to understand about leads, no matter what kind of leads that you're working, is that in order to get the most out of your leads, you have to understand that success in leads equates to the law of large numbers. In other words, one problem I see from a lot of new agents is that one problem is they're told that you don't need a lot of money to get started, just buy a few of these leads, you need to make sales. But the problem with that is that if you don't have enough of an opportunity, you don't have the quantity of leads on your side, despite what the quality is, you're not necessarily going to give yourself the best chances of success. For example, even if you're working really good leads and you're not buying enough of them, and you don't have the volume on your side, you're just not going to be in the best situation to get yourself the most sales possible. For example, I had an agent, Wes, who has gone on to do very well in the business. But when he first started, he said, Dave, I'm having real troubles working my leads. I'm really frustrated in this business. I said, okay, well, let's talk about some numbers. So how many leads you're getting a week? 10. Okay. There's first problem. So how many presentations you're running? Well, out of these 10 direct mail leads, 5. Okay, so you're sitting with half your presentations. Well, how many sales are you making? About 2 or 3. Okay, you're closing 40 to 60% of your presentations. Yeah, but man, it's just 2 or 3 policies. It's terrible. I said, you've got the easiest problem in the world to solve. You got to scale up your lead flow, because that's how you unlock the opportunity to its maximal extent. And therein lies a common problem, is this fear from agents going all into the lead system. They just want to dip their toe into the leads, as opposed to jumping all in and doing what it takes to go in a big way, to think big, to jump in all in, okay? If you just kind of tepidly put your fingers in, you're lucky to even get the kind of results that Wes did in this particular example. Most agents are like, oh man, I sat with 4 people and sold 1 deal. Well, part of that problem is you just didn't expose yourself to enough at-bats. And I like using the analogy of baseball. You got to swing the bat a lot, and the more that you swing the bat, the more balls you're going to hit just by default, right? You're at the bat more. And likewise, what ends up happening is you run more appointments, of course, you get better faster too. So what I would say to you guys out there, and again, we'll get to the quality issue, of course, later on. But assuming the quality is there and there's evidence in your marketing organization or your agency that the leads work, it's imperative that you go all in with the leads. You can't just sample a test amount, like a small test amount, because you're going to run into problems to where you may not think you may think you're going to get results, but you don't get any. But this sets off this whole domino effect in your mind of these leads actually work like Dave says or the other agency says. And that starts to, again, trigger the paranoia, the doubt, and then circling the bowl until you are flushed out, right? We don't want that to happen. So go all in. When you find evidence of a good lead, and go all in. And how do you find evidence, guys? Ladies and gentlemen, the easiest thing to do is do your research. Success leaves clues. You should be looking at leads that show evidence of success. The last thing you want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is jump into this business and experiment with untested, unfounded, unvetted lead sources, okay? that is the worst thing you can do. Because there's so many lead sources out there, and many of them are just garbage and trash, that why would you want to take a chance on these working when there's no evidence of them having prior success? Okay. So one pro tip that I would recommend is that for any leads that you're looking at getting into, make sure that you ask for references. That could be as simple as in your marketing organization or agency by saying, hey, look, can I talk to 3 of your agents that are working these leads just to get some perspective on the quality? If you can't even muster up 3 people doing it successfully, it's probably a good sign that this ain't that good, right? That what the agency's claiming is going on ain't really happening. And that's the only way that's one way, if I was just unsure about getting started, that I would vet the system to see if it actually works like it's supposed to, okay? Otherwise, follow the advice of your seniority or your senior agents that have been doing what it is that you want to do. Duplicate what has already been proven to work. Don't come into this business and experiment. You haven't earned the right yet, and likely you're going to lose money. Anybody who's been in marketing long enough knows that most marketing pieces lose money. There's very few winners. Mostly are losers. And why come into this business and experiment, right? You've got lead sources from good agencies that are proven to work. Just do what they tell you to do because it works. But if you're not sure of that, then do your vetting, like I said, okay? Excuse me. Now, of course, you usually get what you pay for in this business. In other words, don't be surprised when you buy the $10 internet leads that have been resold a number of times from your large IMO that, they're kind of trash, right? So now that doesn't mean that they're not good, but it means that you've got to make up for that in large volume, okay? So generally speaking, you just got to be careful about what you're buying and how much you're buying and understand that price is a pretty good reflection in this business of the quality, especially if it's a vetted lead source. So like, for example, when we're doing outbound work, like with telemarketing, with telesales, we teach agents one way is to do outbound leads with digital leads. They're cheap leads. So the quality is not going to be as good as, say, direct mail. But because it's telesales, we tend to prefer a digital lead for a variety of reasons. And we want to make up for that in scale. So what we do to overcome some of the inherent weaknesses of those types of leads is to buy them at scale. To buy, if you're full-time, 75 to 100 a week. If you're not doing that, you're going to be into that first situation where you're just not exposing yourself to enough opportunity. So understand, you get what you pay for, generally speaking, in this business. Price usually is a reflection of value when it comes to leads. Kind of as a reframe, and I'm going to get to these questions you're throwing down in the chat. I'll definitely be answering them soon. Another thing I want you to kind of think about too, back to what we were talking about as far as success leaves clues. The thing about what's cool about final expense, Medicare sales, certainly mortgage protection to an extent, is that these are boring, unsexy businesses. Like, there's nothing inherently new about how these business models work. So you're not required to come in and think of an entirely new marketing strategy, okay? What's worked for years, or if not decades, still works now. And really, that's what makes it cool, because all you have to do is clue in to what your agency is doing if they have a track record of success, and just do what has been proven to work. You don't have to look for the shiny objects. You just have to duplicate the success that others have seen, and make sure at the scale that's appropriate, of course. And stick to the fundamentally sound, proven, and vetted strategies. Again, that's what makes insurance, I think, one of the most accessible business models out there, because you just jump in, do what works after you do some due diligence, and then scale it to the extent that you need to see the success that you want. Now, let's kind of shift gears. Actually, I'm going to answer some questions in the chat, then I'll go to the next point here. So I hope you guys are doing well. How y'all doing? Hey, Doug, what's going on? Eric, how you doing? Hey, Steve, what's your opinion on Family First Life and their extreme recruiting and recommendation to buy leads from their sources? I think at the end of the day, Family First Life, this may sound a little surprising to some of you. I'm actually in, how do I say? I have great respect for the large amount of recruiting and business that they've brought into the insurance business. It's amazing how much they've grown over the past couple of years. And while I wouldn't necessarily do things personally the same way they do, I'm like everybody else, I have my opinions. It cannot be understated how much people they brought into this business to help people with their insurance needs. So I think on some level we can all praise them for that. Now, as it stands with most organizations out there, a lot of the culture tends to stem from smaller sub-agencies. And so to answer your question, what I would be looking for as far as your opinions on extreme recruiting and recommendation to buy lead sources is, again, kind of follow the advice that I would give you. If you're working for them, see what's working. See what's successful. I know with FFL, they don't make you recruit, so you don't have to recruit. But ultimately, it's going to come back to, do you feel like this is a good connection? And this is advice I would give anybody joining any agency, including mine. Is this a good organization that reflects your values and the affinity that you have towards what you want to accomplish? If it doesn't, whether it's mine or Family First Life or anybody else, then you need to listen to your instinct. Find the organization that's best suited for you, okay? Hey, Mark, I'm pumped. Let's do this. Hey, what's going on? Huge, in fact. First day of calls, new agent about to call the VP of HR to 1,500 location franchise. Good luck. Hopefully, I do the job and pump you up. Hey, Flora, I'm curious as a brand new agent interested in final expense, Medicare Advantage, Supplement Advantage, preferably on the phone online. What would be a good lead budget to start out with? So, you know, we start our agents probably between 20 and 30 direct mail leads a week in our Medicare Advantage sales and marketing program. I think that can keep you full-time busy enough. And if it doesn't, if you're crazy like some of our agents, you can scale up and do even more lead flow. I have agents that are doing 50 plus leads a week on the Medicare side of the business, and they're running 25, 30 plus appointments like John Dean. If you guys didn't see that interview with John Dean, he wrote 265 Medicare plans during AEP last year, between October and December. That guy's an animal. And he runs a ton of appointments. So it's going to vary by agent, but we usually start agents between 20 and 30. That should keep you busy full-time on the phone and or in person. The answer is whatever you have in savings. Sure. I've had zero training and zero practice calls. Oh, back to you, Flora. I would say, you know, so with our price point on direct mail leads for Medicare, it's $25 a piece. So I'm kind of like thinking price-wise in that range. You know, $500 to $750 a week is about what to expect in final expense full-time or Medicare in most agencies. Steve, I spoke with a broker of FFL who says he's been in business for 6 months and wants me to drive around a third of people's homes to learn. Why would I learn from someone that inexperienced? Well, if you don't like that experience, don't. There's plenty of options out there where, you know, maybe somebody's got more experience than what you're saying. How does this recruiting work? 23-year-old broker wants to make money from me putting me on the team. I thought we were independent. Yeah, I mean, most organizations, you're going to have agencies that recruit to the level that you're involved in how they do things. It's going to vary. Again, if you're not 100% convinced, man, just keep doing your due diligence. Plenty of other agencies out there that may be a better fit. Hey, Carson, you can join me and my team to help with leads. Yep. Hey, Antonio, what's going on? I believe in buying leads and working to make a sale, but I don't believe in being under subpar leadership. Again, don't do it. Edward Jones doesn't allow us to buy leads. Yeah, I know. Financial planning, you probably do like a network marketing approach. We do insurance, and it's totally different, especially in the final expense, like the burial insurance market or Medicare sales. We're buying leads and running appointments because a lot of us, I wouldn't be here if I had to talk to my friends and family. I'm kind of an introvert by default, and the idea of having to like approach my business network of old personal training clients and then kind of haggle them in the sale, I just didn't feel comfortable with that. So that's what's nice about buying leads is you kind of avoid that until you're comfortable with it. We have inbound and outbound leads. Yep. Cool. Okay, cool. Let's keep going here. So appreciate you. I'll get more of those questions in the chat later. So moving on here, I want to talk about some major mistakes most agents make regarding leads. As far as, again, the idea of this is saving money. And one part of saving money, I think, is making sure you take the necessary steps to buy the best leads, right? And know the mindset to work those leads. So what we're going to talk about here is kind of the mindset issues, kind of the major issues that I see. I've recruited agents since 2013. I've had thousands of agents in my time. And there's some type of, trends, things that repeat that I see. So this is kind of the idea behind this is to kind of give you some guidance on the major things that you maybe challenge with or deal with to think about and to avoid. So first of all, one big problem, and it sounds fundamental, but the fundamentals are fundamentals. One big problem with agents and how much money they waste on leads comes from the fact they don't work them enough, okay? You wouldn't believe how many agents buy leads and never work them. I've talked to agents that have a stack of direct mail leads, 50, 100 plus, that they've spent thousands of dollars on, and for some reason, they just won't work them. This is part of the reason why there's a lot of MLMs out there that resell leads and have this whole category of leads where they recycle leads and resell them. I don't do that personally in my agency. I don't like the idea of somebody buying a lead and not owning it. I want my leads to be fresh and exclusive. But this can be argued part of the reason they do this is that a lot of agents just don't actually pull the trigger and go out there and work leads. And it's a very frustrating thing. So what I'd ask you guys to do out there in an effort to not just waste money, but to maximize your earnings is to make sure that you actually work all your leads. So how do you know when you've worked a lead enough? They either buy or die is kind of how I look at it. Now, to clarify a little bit more, beyond the people who say, do not call me, put me on your DNC list, we take those people off, right? But I will call a lead and call and call and call if they never pick up until they die or they buy or they tell me to pound sand and get off the DNC or get on the DNC, never call me again. I will call those people indefinitely, okay? I will door knock those people indefinitely until I get in the door or get that lead resolved. Again, I don't care if it's been weeks or months or years. That lead will still continue to be called, dialed, texted, whatever the proper course of action is until it is resolved, okay? A lot of you are tempted because the client hasn't picked up over the 10 calls you've made to put that lead away and never work it again. Don't do that. That lead is money, okay? Keep calling it. Now, I may not preferentially call that lead first, right? But it may go to the bottom of the stack, but I'm not going to ever get rid of it. There have been countless times in my career as an agent where I've worked a lead that, sat in my inventory for months on end, and for whatever reason, they finally decided to pick the phone up, and I ended up going to their house and closing them. I'm thinking of one down in Rossville, Georgia right now with pit bulls running around and stuff. And I closed that lady security national plan, right? And that lead was old. Oh, and there's another one in Rossville too. Same thing. So the point is, don't give up on these things. Again, that's a reason that people lose money on leads, and not in the sense of just buying bad leads, but not getting the money they could out of them, right? So work them. Agent doesn't work them enough. Again, kind of talked about that. The agent doesn't call enough. So let me kind of clarify some things that should be the de facto standard when you're calling your leads. First of all, hopefully you all understand the power of triple dialing. Again, what is triple dialing? Triple dialing is where you pick the phone up, you dial a number, it goes to voicemail like it always does. Well, instead of giving up, you call it a second time, goes to voicemail second time, then you call it at least one more time, a third time. There is what we call breaking the conditioning. There's a psychological behavioral change when somebody gets a call a second and a third time. It's outside of the norm for mostly what telemarketers do. And people who would otherwise avoid calls will many times end up picking the phone up to then talk to you, because what if it's a loved one that's in danger and they're calling on a stranger's phone? The mind goes to all sorts of places in these kind of panic states. And we get people who are a little upset, like, what's going on? How can I help you? Who is this? But we now have an opportunity to pitch these leads when we otherwise wouldn't, okay? So to me, in our agency, triple dialing is the de facto standard in working the leads. I know some of you out there are like, oh, what if I get somebody who's mad at me and angry? Guys, they never really get angry at all. They get more engaged. They get more interested, like, who is this person? And they end up listening a lot better, I think. So get over the fear of triple dialing. I would ask you to consider what's a worser consequence, them yelling at you or them dying without coverage because you were a coward and you didn't triple dial them, but booking the appointment when they yelled at you. So, it's really important that you help families and take a little bit of a risk here. And I assure you, all my agents who buy into this, they find themselves getting more appointments booked, selling more insurance. So make sure you're working them well. Agents a lot of times won't get out of their comfort zone. This is another issue to get the most out of your leads. Most agents are lazy. They don't want to work anything outside of their zip code. They're in business after all, right? Hey, I don't have to work hard. Nah, it's the exact opposite of that. You need to go out of your comfort zone. Get out there and see the people. Do what the other guy won't do, okay? So a lot of agents, and we talked about this at the Elite Agent Summit, one of the things that our most successful agents are doing is they're getting outside of where they live and working the hinterlands. They're working hours away sometimes to get in front of the best leads. Doug Massey, who has a YouTube channel, subscribe if you haven't, he was actually on one of our sales panels on Friday. He was talking about how he lives, I think he lives in like north of Miami somewhere now, but he would drive 3 or 4 hours away to get up to Sarasota, Bradenton, kind of Tampa area, central or Florida, to work the good leads, because his experience working anywhere south of there, like in the Miami, was just nightmare. A lot of gated communities, language barrier issues, people with money, etc. So not good final expense prospects. And for him, success came when he got out of that comfort zone and did what it took to yield the kind of success that's possible in this business. So the thing you need to make sure you're doing, working your leads and getting the most out of them, is ask yourself, are you giving yourself the most opportunity that you can? For me personally, I would drive out an hour and a half to 2 hours maximum to work leads, to get out to the rural areas that were less populated with agents, where the people were a little more nicer, a little more approachable, because I knew most agents wouldn't do that. That I would get the most out of my leads and see, I would figure better prospects that would be more likely to set an appointment with me, because it's as opposed to being in the city where people are just constantly slammed all the time by all sorts of salespeople. So again, this is a commonality for people who get the most out of their leads. They're doing what it takes to work them, getting out there, seeing the people. Okay. Another thing that I always like this kind of conversation here. There's a natural obsession with some of you about being efficient. Driving an hour and a half to work leads is inefficient. Driving versus selling over the phone, which I support, is inefficient. Look, efficiency is a first world problem, okay? Like, your real problem is being effective, okay? So there's this management principle I think Pete Drucker talked about, efficiency versus effectiveness, that really stuck with me. You want to be effective in this business, okay? Effective means getting closed deals done. And if that means you have to be inefficient to do it, so what? That's just what you got to do. You could argue Doug Massey's strategy of traveling 3 or 4 hours away was inefficient, but he's closed hundreds of thousands of dollars multiple years in a row. How much have you closed, right? Who's got the bank account that has money in it, right? So the point is not to, agitate you, but the point is effectiveness is what matters, and that's where your head should be. How can I get results in the quickest way possible, even if it means I'm inefficient? So if that means, again, tying it back to the other point, having to drive out and do things, so be it. Right? Again, and that's pretty much it, guys. Again, the purpose of this is to kind of give you some upper level perspective on leads, and to make sure that in your process of buying leads that you follow some fundamentals, okay? The kind of round out perspective here that I'll give you before I take some questions in the chat. Hey, Kevin, what's going on? Is this business is boring. There's nothing really new under the sun. We know it works. As recruiters, as agencies out there build and recruit, we're not interested in putting agents on systems where there's not evidence of success, because if you work with an honest agency, they only make money when you make a sale. It's kind of generally how I look at it. And if that's how they're set up, then of course by design, they want to put you into a system to where you make money and they make money when you make money. And thus they want you to work leads because they're not making money off of the sale of leads. That's a big issue with some of these MLMs out there, is they monetize the lead flow and make money off of that, even if you don't make sales. For example, I don't make money off of anything other than when you make a sale. So all of my interests and biases and focus is on how can I get agent A to sell a policy, because I make what's called an override above that. So part of that perspective is, well, what's the best leads that are out there? So if you join a good agency that cares about that makes their money off of sales of policies as their primary approach, then rest assured their successful candidates or agents should be utilizing a system of leads that have already been proven to work. And all you have to do is come in and duplicate where the evidence of success is, okay? So don't think you've got to go out there and reinvent the wheel. This is not that kind of business. This is a boring business. We know it works. Go do what works. If you want some advice, if you're working final expense and what the best leads are, There is a video I did a couple weeks ago, like put in best final expense lead survey. And I surveyed around 100 agents on what they thought were the best leads in final expense. And you'll get some really good perspective from not just new agents, but a lot of experienced agents, mostly experienced agents. Okay. All right. Let's go. Let's talk about your comments in the chat here. So let's go back to where I left off. Hey, VGK, what's going on? What if you get an upline that you don't get along with? How can you switch to another upline team in the same company without pissing anybody off? I just don't click with the upline. Unless you've got an organization partner that has no ego, it's probably going to be hard. It definitely happens that people are, not good fits. And your upline is your most important component, I think, in your success. Do they train you? Do they support you? Do they have your back? Do you get along with them? Because if you don't have even like a connection with them, much less all the other stuff like training and support, your business is going to struggle. Like there's enough drama and difficulty in this business without having to deal with drama from an upline, right? So you want to mitigate that as quickly as possible. So I've heard of agents being able to successfully switch when they just don't mesh well with their uplines with certain MLMs, but it may not work, and you may need to look elsewhere. But that's so critical to get that right, because remember, they're making money off of you. And if they're not earning it, all this is going to do is fester into a larger and larger wound. And it's going to have a direct impact, in my opinion, on your ability to perform well in the business. So give that some serious thought. Okay. Let's go ahead and keep going. Well, hey, Ugana, what's going on? What percentage do you think I should close for 50 Facebook leads a week? If you're doing face-to-face, I would like to see 5 to 7. That's kind of the conversion metrics that I think would be good. Could you do more than that? Sure. Maybe you'll do less than that, possibly. But 5 to 7 sales off of 50 Facebook leads a week face-to-face is good. For telesales, 2. Again, telesales is more difficult. The conversion rates are just lower. A good agent will close 5 to 7% of their digital leads. So if you buy 50 and you close 5%, that's 2 to 3. All right, let's keep going here. Finally over COVID. Good, Jonathan. And can get fingerprinted for my license. Awesome. Glad to have you. Going through some chat here. Anybody working with annuity leads? That's kind of funny about annuity leads. We had Stephen Burgess come in and talk annuity sales this weekend at our Elite Agent Summit. By the way, we'll be in Houston and in Vegas in February and March, respectively. And what he does is basically does his own marketing. Actually cold calls households. And you guys can look this up on YouTube. If you put in Stephen Burgess, David DeFord, you can see a lot of the content we've done where we've talked about this in depth. And he goes in and pitches and uncovers opportunities and closes. But what a lot of agents do, whether they work mortgage protection, Medicare, or final expenses, they just end up cross-selling their existing leads. I'm convinced, and this has kind of always been a spur in my side that I'm actively trying to work on building out in my agency, as I think there's so much money in annuity that's sitting out there, that's never talked to, that's never pitched, that could be an amazing business model because agents don't know what to say, how to say it, or approach it with confidence. And I'm saying this is within their final expense, Medicare, and mortgage protection leads. For example, an agent of mine named Jess, she on her own action, working a final expense lead, uncovered a $1.2 million opportunity, which she closed, made a lot of money. And the guy was throwing her off his porch face-to-face because of final expense, but she's a great talker and a good listener and worked her way in. That stuff is all over the place, ladies and gentlemen, and your final expense leads, Medicare, and mortgage protection leads, if you know how to ask it. So one of the things we're working on is developing a system to employ to where if you know what questions to ask, you can uncover these opportunities. And many times these are the best annuity sales because they're not actively out there searching. And what you'll find in the annuity market is many of the paid leads are like $400 to $500 if you do a seminar or if you buy leads. A lot of those people are shopping. They're what we call plate lickers. They just go to these annuity events and never buy. So you're in competition with other advisors. You don't find that when you are cross-selling because your client's kind of asleep when it comes to their money until you wake them up to see how bad they're getting ripped off. And then they go back to sleep because they're not the kind that just shops around. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in cross-selling that nobody really is tapping into. And kind of one of my objectives over the next couple of years is to work into that, because I think there's just millions upon millions of dollars out there, hundreds of millions really, that we could help people with that we're not doing well enough with. Okay. Okay. Muhammad, hey. Hi, you're doing? I'm doing good. I do lead gen, and I hate it when the agents order the same counties or zip codes every week, and they order 50 leads in the exact same areas. Yeah, you got to move it around a little bit. You just will stall out an area if you're not careful. Yes, thank you, Carson. All right. Going down the list here. And again, if you guys got questions, you're jumping in here live, feel free to throw them in the chat. It's kind of Q&A session now. And by the way, if you like this video, please thumbs it up. This helps share the video and crack the algorithm and get this kind of topics and content in front of people who really need to see it, new agents, struggling agents, that kind of thing. So if you enjoy it, like it. If you don't, thumbs it down. That's fine too. I spoke to 5+ recruiters and Hey, David, I'm graduating. Hey, Matthew, how you doing? In college this May. I'm set on insurance sales. Good. Again, the biggest regret I've had in my life, Matthew, is not starting insurance sales earlier. These guys and gals under 20s that are getting started in insurance sales, if they stick with it and really focus for the next 10 years, boy, the opportunity financially is just incredible. And that's my only regret. I wish I would have stumbled across this business out of desperation earlier. Anyways, I'm set on insurance sales post-grad. You think it would be beneficial to get my license to begin part-time? Yes. I would say yes, but I'm 11 years in the business, and based on my initial response, yeah, I wish I would have done sooner. Of course I do, yeah. Part-time would be a great way to start, and you can absolutely do it in final expense or Medicare. So, and what a great way to get started, just to get some street cred, experience, etc. So by the time you go full-time, you're experienced, you know what you're doing, and you can just scale and leverage it up that much more. Absolutely. Okay, I'm keeping going here. Telesales, Hey, Eggs, what's going on? Nice to see you, man. Great stuff right here. Who has the money? Who knows? Who's got the money? Where's my money? Steve. Going through the questions here. Thank you. You're welcome, Exxon. Let's see here. Look forward to the Vegas seminar. Absolutely. Let's keep going. You can easily switch up lines sometimes. Hey, Tone, what's going on? I've been selling strictly Medicare by phone in the carrier's call centers for decades with nothing to show for it. I need an agency that thoroughly understands telesales with good training. I think that would be, of course, shameless plug, us. We recruit agents more in the Medicare Advantage side of the business to sell both face-to-face and over the phone. We have several agents in our agency that are doing telesales exclusively, selling Medicare Advantage over the phone using our direct mail lead system. And one of those agents sold 350 policies in 7 months last year. He's going to be speaking at the Houston event, and again, completely telesales, and he was doing face-to-face. I know we've got agents like Chris out of Florida. I think Chris is in Florida. He transitioned to telesales from Medicare face-to-face to Medicare telesales. I think there's another rep up in Atlanta that's doing it on our team. So it's something that's viable. It's definitely out there. It's not the norm to be independent and over the phone, but I think just like it's grown in the final expense market, it absolutely will for telesales. So yes, it is something that is viable. It's something we teach. If you'd like more information, davidford.com/contact. Keep going here. Get to the end. Throw your questions in the chat if you have more questions. Okay. Yeah, Angie, thank you for the video. I was just lying awake last night wondering if I should stop sinking money into leads and give up. Yeah, and that's kind of the whole point of this, right? I mean, you have to invest in this business if you want to see success. I think that's the main principle. The key is, how do you invest in a way with confidence? And how do you avoid the mental, the fear is the mind killer, as my shirt says. How do you avoid the traps that are common out there? And for me, I think one of the biggest things I tell agents in coming aboard is probably the best thing you can do as a new agent is first of all, buy what your upline teaches you if you know, like, and trust them and feel good about them. But also, buy the fresh and exclusive leads. This is the thing that gets me about agencies that focus on aged leads as a way to start the business. There's a huge risk in ruining the psychological status of a new agent by giving them beat up old leads that are years old. Not to say you can't make sales off of them. It's not, you can, you absolutely can. But it runs this risk if you're not honest in the conversation with that agent, that they may think that a lead is a lead is a lead. It's not true. Some leads are better than others. But you may go out there and realize nobody wants to talk to you, that you're the fifth or sixth agent that's talked to them in the last year, that it's a grinding experience. It's frustrating, and you've spent a couple $100, not a lot, but not a little bit, and you have nothing to show for it. That is a frustrating experience. And we want to avoid that experience as much as possible. And to me, any business that wants success should be leveraging all of the opportunities in its favor. In other words, you shouldn't cut short on perhaps one of the most important elements of your success, which is quality leads, good prospects. Why would you do that? Why would we not cut short? We wouldn't say cut short on the training. Give yourself inferior training. Give yourself an inferior upline with inferior commission levels, right? That doesn't make any sense. Well, why do we suggest that our agents buy inferior leads, which make a huge difference? So for me, when I first started, luckily I had an upline that understood this, and I started with fresh, exclusive direct mail leads. I had 10 a week coming in when I first started in Georgia. First day in the field, I made my first sale. I was hooked on the business. Would I have gotten that if it was age leads? Maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't. But the odds are higher that you won't get as many sales with age leads as you will with fresh leads. And again, if you don't have the perspective, which you don't as a new agent, you don't have it firsthand, and you work age leads and you find that it's frustrating, it can damage your perspective of the business right away. And you don't need head trash like that. You're welcome, Tony. And okay, cool. Yeah. All right, Flora. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will be back tomorrow talking about some topic. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I'm sure it's going to be great. Again, if you're interested in looking at joining DeFord Insurance Group, yes, I do recruit agents nationally. Yes, I do recruit for final expense Medicare and annuities. Yes, we do it, at least for final expense and Medicare, over the phone or face-to-face. And yes, we teach you how to buy good quality leads. We know it works. We know what's successful. If you're looking for a competent upline, a competent agency that actually cares about your success but isn't going to babysit you or treat you like an employee, and you want more of the entrepreneurial experience, that's what we focus on at DeFord Insurance Group. Learn more at daviddeford.com/FAQ. Read through that FAQ. It's going to answer a lot of the basic questions on how my agency works, how the business works. And then you'll see from there what steps to take to proceed if you like what you see. And join a Q&A, call a one-on-one, and then start onboarding right away. So we'll see you tomorrow on our live stream, whatever topic is. And hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Thanks for being here. Bye.